Well, I'm visiting with Patty Loveless. We're going to do some catch up here. It's been a while since I sat and talked with Patty. Patty, let's talk about your career and what's happened to you. What has been your biggest career record so far?
The biggest career record as of right now is probably Timber I'm Falling in Love. That was my very first number one. And it had stayed number one for 3 weeks actually in R&R magazine.
Yeah, and that's kind of
and
unusual.
number one in Billboard.
That's kind of unusual for your record to stay number one 3 weeks.
Very unusual. I think the last person to do it, or the last female to do it, was Dolly Parton in '81 with 9 to 5.
Yeah, there was always somebody trying to knock you out of that number one spot. You have a current record that's doing pretty well. It's number two as we speak here.
Right. I hope to see it number one by the time that this gets around. But Chains is the record we're talking about. This one, of course, comes from the Honky Tonk Angel album also. And it's the 5th single that I've released off this album because it's been doing so well in sales.
All right, let's review the Honky Tonk Angel album. What have been the singles and how well have they done?
The first single actually that came off of it was Blue Side of Town, and that went to number 5 in the charts. And then the second single was Don't Toss Us Away, which a lot of people sometimes tends to think that this was a number 1, but it went to number 4 in the charts. This song, actually, Don't Toss Us Away, that I'm talking about, when I'm out on the road, we can go into this song and it gets more applause than any song that we do. I think it was the one that really definitely got me a lot of recognition out there. And now that you hear this song, it puts it with the name Patty Loveless.
So it turns your career around.
Right, it sure did. I mean, you hear the truck drivers out there on the CB just talking. That girl that sings that Don't Toss Us Away, that Patty Loveless. So the name does get around now, and that's a good feeling. So a lot of good things have happened with this album. Of course, then we released a third single, which was Timber I'm Falling in Love. And, of course, it went to number 1.
See, I tend to think that Timber was your turnaround record, but I guess I'm wrong.
You know, sometimes a lot of people tend to think that. For radio, it really did. It was a big song for me. But as far as the audience, Don't Toss Us Away, I think they just want to hear that ballad out there and really get into it. Up-tempo things is really good for live shows too, and I think it's the reason that Timber does go across so well. Of course, the fourth single, which is a favorite song of mine too, Lonely Side of Love, we released it. It was a little bit different from Timber. It's more of a traditional style, more of a traditional sound to this song. And I really wanted to release this for the fact that I still wanted people to think that I still was staying with my roots of being traditional, but I still have a little edge to me with a song like Timber, or like the song now that is the 5th single off the album, Chains.
I'm talking with Patty Loveless, and we're talking about the album Honky Tonk Angel, which it looks like it's going to go gold in a few months, in a very short time. It sold over 400,000 copies, and you've got to be tickled to death with that.
I am thrilled to death about this, Ralph, because, you know, a lot of people say, you know, what is the most important award that you can win? Well, the first one I say is Female Vocalist of CMA or ACM. The reason is because I consider myself a female vocalist. That's what I am. But the other most important thing is the album. If I ever got Album of the Year or something like that, that would mean so much to me. And selling records like the Honky Tonk Angel album is doing right now, it just thrills me. I know that the music is getting to the people when I know the record sales are going up.
Will the next single be from this same album?
No, we have just finished a new album. Actually, we finished it back in the summer, right after Fanfare. And the new album is going to be coming out in May, of course, 1990. And it's going to be titled On Down the Line. I believe On Down the Line is going to be the first single off the album.
Any old songs in this album?
Well, there's some old songs that some writers wrote a long time ago but never got recorded.
No standards.
No standards, no standard tunes. But there's some in there that sounds pretty much like standards.
Patty, you love bluegrass music, don't you?
I really do. I mean, when I was very, very young, my father raised me actually on listening to Ralph Stanley, Carter Stanley, the Stanley brothers, and also my mother got into Bill Monroe, and there was many, many others. But the Stanley brothers was the main thing with my daddy. But when I was younger, it didn't seem like I appreciated it as much as I do today. I think when you're younger, you don't listen to a lot of things. You don't even listen to your parents sometimes. But Daddy used to play the records, and I remember I used to tell him, "Gosh, Daddy, that sounds so sad, so serious." And now I see why that he loved this music so much, because there was so much soul there.
The other night you had something happen to you that was very special, didn't you?
Well, we're talking about the 24th of February, and it was on the Grand Ole Opry. You see, my father died in 79, and there's a lot of things today I wish that I was able to share with him, to be able to sit down and talk with him and just discuss a lot of things that are going on. But I wish, if I could have one wish, that Saturday night on the Opry, that he could have been there, because Ralph Stanley walked out and did a song with me that I recorded on the Honky Tonk Angel album, the song "I'll Never Grow Tired of You," which his brother Carter Stanley wrote. And I asked Ralph would he sing with me on it, and he definitely walked out there and did it with me. And
you wish your daddy could have seen that.
You don't know how much I wished he could have seen that.
Patty, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say "Timber, I'm Falling"?
My first number one.
What else?
"Timber, I'm Falling in Love" reminds me of the writer Costas. Costas and I became real good friends, and he's just a dear soul. I just love him to death. He's just wonderful. He's from Montana. This was his first record to be put out, and his first song that was recorded by an artist. And he's been writing for many years.
Did you know there was another country song one time with the same title?
"Timber, I'm Falling." I think it was it, wasn't it?
Ferlin Husky.
I think that's who it was.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
But
Not the same one.
Yeah, I don't think you were in the world when that happened.
No, I don't think I was.
Who are your heroes?
I have a lot of heroes. I've really always adored Dolly Parton. I think she's a wonderful lady and such a positive thinker. And I hope someday to grow up and be just like her. And Emmylou Harris, I think she's wonderful. She's such a sweet and kind lady, and it was really a wonderful experience to go to her house and have dinner with her and her husband one night. I really got to know Emmylou Harris very well. I really look up to Patsy Cline. I wish that was one lady that was still alive today so I can get to know her. I really think that she, even though I did never have met Patsy or know that much about her from just listening to her music, I feel that she was a very kind person, but a very hard-nosed lady.
Absolutely. Patty, tell me about the folks back. You're from Pikeville, Kentucky, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Still have a lot of folks back there?
Oh, I have a lot of aunts and uncles and cousins, and they're just all spread out.
How about your immediate family? I know your brother Roger Ramey is in Nashville. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
Well, I have 4 brothers, and I have actually 2 sisters. But I know people say, well, I thought she had 8 in her family. I used to say 8 a lot because we had a cousin that came to live with us. And now, during interviews, I normally say, well, I have 7 plus 1 in my family. There were 7 children born to mother and daddy, and there was 1 cousin that came to live with us. But where I'm from, that eastern part of Kentucky, is if you came to live with us, you'd become part of the family. It's just the way it is. You'd become a brother or uncle or something.
I could even become a grandfather, probably. Now, are any of these people in show business?
Roger, my brother, Roger Ramey, he is now managing me along with Gerald Roy, who has worked with Kenny Rogers and many others for a long time. He also worked with the Forster Sisters. But my brother Roger, he's working with me.
What do your sisters do?
My sisters? Well, one of my sisters right now is keeping real busy of taking care of my fan club, and that's Ruth Grumman. She's married and has 3 boys, and now she's a grandmother now. When I think about it, that's kind of strange.
Are you the baby?
I'm the baby girl. I'm not really actually the baby. I had a younger brother that was born after me.
What about your other? You have 2 sisters?
I have 2 other sisters.
Okay.
My other sister, Dottie, she used to do a lot of singing back when she was younger, but she ended up getting married when she was 20 years old and pretty much let go of it. She had a family to raise now, and she pretty much set that aside for family.
Did your family sing a lot at home?
Quite a bit. especially Dottie, especially Roger. Used to sing around the house quite often, and it was like Mom and Dad's own personal concert that they would have between the three of us.
Was your father in show business?
Never was. He was a coal miner.
Why were you in Louisville at one time?
We were living in Pikeville, Kentucky, and when we moved there, I was like 9 years old. My father had taken sick, and he had some heart complications, and we had to end up taking him to a hospital to where that he could get medical help.
I see. So you just moved lock, stock, and barrel to
Right,
Louisville.
moved everybody there.
How old were you?
I was 9, and actually the first time I ever walked out on a stage, I was 12 years old. That was a little small jamboree there in Louisville, Kentucky. So I guess it was meant to happen, Ralph.
What did you sing?
Well, it was Ernest Tubb and Loretta Lynn. My brother was singing with me at the time. I did Hopper Valley PTA and You Ain't Woman Enough. And Roger and I did together Sweet Thing. A long time ago.
Visiting with Patty Loveless. Patty, you live in Nashville?
Yes, I do. I make a home here in an apartment right now because I'm not home enough to really make it in a house.
How has your life changed since the records in the Honky Tonk Angel album, which have all been, I think most of them have been hits, Timber I'm Falling and the current record and the one you mentioned before, Timber I'm Falling?
Chains. Oh, Don't Toss Us Away. Yeah, right.
Since all this has happened to you, how has your life changed?
As far as the stage shows, now that when we're playing out, we can go and start going into one of those songs, and they automatically know the song, and that's a real good feeling. It's a big thrill to know that they know the music now, and they know the name with the music.
Patty, I thank you for sitting and talking with me.
Oh, it's been my pleasure, Ralph. It really has been.